Hey everyone, this is Debbie with Deb's Kitchen. Today I decided to put together some of the questions that y'all asked me into a segment, and so that's what I'm going to do today. Question number one is how to cook for a lot of people. Well, my experience, it's always best to double or triple your recipe to suit the amount of people that you're going to cook for. For an example, if you're cooking for eggs, for deviled eggs or potatoes, always do at least two per person, and then you can always have an extra one. And it's always best to have more than not enough ingredients, and you can always eat leftovers. Number two is a two-part question. Is why do I wear gloves when I deal with meat, and proper meat preparation and safety. Well, I wear gloves because I feel they're more sanitary. And washing your hands, to me, isn't always easier depending on what you're dealing with. Oils or grease, bacon. But I have noticed people using their hands with meatloaf when you use your hands, and they're wearing rings. And to me, that just is not sanitary, and it takes more time to clean your rings and wash your hands than just wearing a pair of gloves, taking them off, and throwing them away. And have you ever thought about, if you had a cut on your finger and you're mixing, you know, raw meat with a cut on your finger? That's just not my thing. And the other part about safety with preparation is you always have to be careful with cross-contamination. Cross-contamination can be very dangerous, especially if you've got cooked meat already in your pan and you go to add raw meat to continue to cook some meat, say for instance hamburgers. If you're cooking hamburger patties and you've got 4 of them already cooked, and then you add another 1 or 2 to the pan and you take the cooked ones out, you've cross-contaminated that meat. So that's very dangerous, and it's very important to keep those raw and fresh separated. Number 3 is, what is my salt and pepper blend specifics? My salt and pepper blend, I mix 1/8 of a cup of pepper and 1 to 1.5 cups of salt. Pepper always outshadows and overpowers salt, so less pepper is always best. Number 4 is, where do I get my recipe ideas? They come from various places, mostly years of experimenting, but my recipes always also come from my late mother, and the way she did her recipes, and my grandmother's cookbook, and a lot of the other cookbooks that I have. I also get inspiration sometimes from online, but I always tweak those recipes to suit myself. I never copy anyone else's recipes. I always do it myself. And question number 5 is, why do I place eggs in my recipe first before anything else? Well, it's easy sometimes to, if you got all the ingredients in a bowl and you place eggs in there, and sometimes you get a bad egg. Some eggs sometimes will have blood in them. And so if you put your eggs in a bowl of ingredients you already have in there, you're going to have to start all over. So that's why I always place my eggs first in anything that I'm going to do. Number 6 is, why do you use frozen pie crust? And this is kind of a funny thing, but I have made homemade crust before, but I just find that frozen pie crust, especially deep dish, it's easier, and they have good flavor. So that's why I use frozen pie crust. Number 7 is, what kind of flour that I put in my recipes. A lot of times I, will say flour in the ingredient, and I don't always put what kind of flour. Well, most of the recipes that call for flour, it's going to be all-purpose. Self-rising flour already has the ingredients that that's needed, like baking powder, salt, etc. So if you're making a recipe that calls for flour, it's always going to be all-purpose. because you're usually adding other ingredients to that recipe. So it's going against putting self-rising. So it's always all-purpose. Number 8 is my meat quality and the oil quality that I use. Well, in using meat, I always try to use the best quality. Ground beef, the highest number you can get, because ground beef has a lot of grease in it. And if you use cheap, you're going to have to drain it. And it just doesn't have as good as flavor, I don't feel, than getting the best quality of ground beef. And, you don't have to drain the grease out of really good ground beef. And so some fat is for flavoring, I understand, but I never use an excess of fat, like with pork chops or roast or anything of that nature. And the quality of oil that I use is extra virgin olive oil. I just feel that it's healthier, and that's what I use. Number 9 is, why do I microwave the frozen vegetables? And some of my recipes, pot pie or some of the other things that I make, I will knock the chill off of frozen vegetables 4 to 5 minutes, because it would just seem like, to me, it will keep my recipe warmer and hotter, and it's easier. And so that's why I do that. Number 10 is, do I deliver any of my recipes? No, I don't deliver anything that I make. It's just because of mileage, this kind of thing, and I just don't deliver anything. Number 11 is, what's the most difficult thing to make and the challenges? Well, the only really challenging thing that I tried to do one time is make a beef Wellington. That to me was extremely challenging. I would have to practice doing that again if I tried to, put it on a video. My main problem was getting it to hold together, and it just kept falling apart. Number 12 is my favorite dish to cook. I really don't have a favorite because all my recipes are very simple and easy, so I find all of them fun to make. So I really don't have a favorite. And my last question is, why a YouTube channel? Well, I want to show people that cooking isn't as hard as it seems. You don't need or have to use a lot of ingredients or strange ingredients to give food flavor. And if I can help to make your cooking experience better, then that makes having a channel worth it to me. Well, I thank everyone for your questions. And if you have any questions, any more questions, just leave them in the comments section, and I appreciate it. And until next time, this is Debbie with Deb's Kitchen. Goodbye.